The individual strengths of Bloom's taxonomy and Banks's multicultural curriculum model are evident. The first provides a popular and effective framework for building rigor into classroom instruction. The second, a clear and detailed prescription for infusing curricula with relevant, high-quality multicultural content. In 1999, education specialists Dr. Donna Ford and Dr. J. John Harris III merged Bloom's six-step taxonomy with Banks's four-part multicultural curriculum model in a book called Multicultural Gifted Education. The resulting Bloom-Banks matrix provides you with the conceptual framework for creating curricula that satisfy the need for both critical thinking and robust multicultural content. To simplify discussion and implementation of the Bloom-Banks matrix, the Bloom-Banks grid has been partitioned into 4 quadrants of 6 cells each. Color coding has also been added to flag strengths and weaknesses of each quadrant. The overall goal is to offer teachers a quick reference tool to help guide curriculum development and instructional decision-making. The quadrants and their associated colors are Quadrant 1, red, Quadrant 2, blue, Quadrant 3, yellow, and Quadrant 4, green. Quadrant 1 contains the 3 lower levels of Bloom's taxonomy: remembering, understanding, and applying, and the lowest 2 stages of Banks's multicultural model, contributions and additive. Working in this quadrant, your students will know, understand, and apply information about cultural elements, groups, and concepts, but only in a superficial way. Moreover, the content provided in Quadrant 1 usually doesn't provide students with multicultural growth and substance. Some instruction will doubtless take place on the Quadrant 1 level, but it's an inadequate level on which to stop, offering only low instructional rigor and the possibility of reinforcing cultural stereotypes. Let's consider some sample classroom activities on the Quadrant 1 level, drawn from a range of grade levels. The Bloom-Banks matrix describes expectations at the intersection of remembering and contributions as follows. Students are taught and know facts about cultural artifacts, events, groups, and other cultural elements. A classroom activity at this level could be requiring students to learn the names of 4 African American artists or writers popular in the first half of the 20th century. In addition, students might be taught the names of the pertinent artistic and literary genres or movements associated with these persons. The cells in Quadrant 2 are low on Bloom's taxonomy, remembering, understanding, and applying, and high on Banks's multicultural levels, transformation, and social action. Students working in this quadrant will have the opportunity to study cultural events and themes through the lens of other cultures. They'll also gain additional and meaningful knowledge about different groups, but with little critical thinking and problem-solving involved. Social action may take place, but the project's likely to be superficial and without much impact. Following are a few examples of potential activities in the Quadrant 2 level. The expectations at the intersection of remembering and social action are as follows. Based on information about cultural artifacts, etc., students make recommendations for social action. In a sample classroom assignment at this level, students might be asked what they would have done if they were an aspiring professional athlete in the 1940s to advocate for equality within the sports industry. Quadrant 3 cells rank high on Bloom's taxonomy, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, but low on Banks's multicultural levels, contributions, and additive. Students taught in this quadrant are able to compare and contrast, create, and critique information about cultural groups, concepts, and themes. This level requires your students to use higher-level critical thinking skills. Even though instruction is at a high level cognitively, you should proceed with caution. Minimal cultural substance is learned, which can lead to students having difficulty grasping multicultural content and culturally different students in substantive ways. Let's examine some possible classroom activities in Quadrant 3. At the intersection of analyzing and additive, students are taught to and can analyze important cultural concepts and themes. A classroom project at this level could begin with students learning a Native American song and a slave song, followed by an assignment to compare and contrast the themes and purposes of the 2 songs. With Quadrant 4, we reach the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, in combination with the highest levels of Banks's model, transformations, and social actions. Instruction within Quadrant 4 encourages your students to think critically, solve problems, and view a multitude of multicultural topics, issues, and themes. Students are empowered to make social and equitable changes in developmentally appropriate ways. This is the goal: curriculum that's both rigorous and relevant. Students are thinking and solving problems at the highest levels and are exposed to content that addresses cultural misunderstandings, stereotypes, and injustices. Where analyzing and transformation meet, students are taught to and can examine important cultural concepts and themes from more than one perspective. At this level, students could be asked to discuss or write on the question of how our society might look if the Pilgrims had peacefully integrated with Native Americans rather than removing them from their land. How might our culture and economy have developed differently?